thank you guys for joining me today. I appreciate all of you guys being here. I'm Glay Koenig, and I appreciate you guys being here. I know that many of you guys have been with me the other two sessions, so I appreciate you walking along this path with me. Hopefully you guys have now had a chance to implement Pear Deck in some way, shape, or form in your classroom. Yeah, I see some of you saying no, not yet, and that's okay. It's great. I'm glad you're here. It may take some time, and also please don't forget that even following these PDs, if you have further questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me or to our team. And as I mentioned before, we are able to come to your PLC. So if it's something that you and your teammates are interested in, you can reach out to us to come for, a specialized PD during your PLC if it's something you are interested in. Thank you guys so much for those of you that gave me those quick responses. Again, as I mentioned, I am Glay Koenig, and this is the rest of my team. Our team is the digital learning team, and we are responsible for facilitating the usage of digital tools to help promote learning in your classrooms. So I have some wonderful teammates, and we have a lot of great resources. So if you have any questions, we are here for you. And as we always do with our PDs, we want to make those connections to our district goals. As we all know that Ms. Hill is prepared for us these 4+3, and we are really looking at preparing the learning environments for our classroom. And using Pear Deck really is can be used in all of these areas, actually, because you are implementing the usage of grade level standards to create the lessons, but also it's a great way to take a quick dipstick and do those on-the-spot interventions, and it does provide our students with the ability to work independently as well. All right, and also, as I mentioned before as well, our digital learning team, we focus on the ISTE standards, which are the International Standards for Technology Education, and we really are focusing on those foundational tools. And as you can see, by using this tool, we are actually targeting all of these standards within ITSE. It is digital citizenship for students. It allows them to be facilitators, designers, and analysts and learners. So this particular PD is attached to all of those goals as well. Today, we're going to go ahead and explore how to enter a quick prompt immediately into a session that you have live. If it's something that you feel like you need, that's a great way to use those quick dipsticks to provide some on-the-spot intervention for your students. We're going to examine the teacher dashboard since we didn't get to it last time. I'm going to have you guys experience Flashcard Factory, which is really what we're going to primarily focus on today. And then I'm going to give you some time to create a Flashcard Factory session for your own students. And then if a time allows, then we'll go ahead and take a look at Canva. Something I will mention, if you are a Canva user, be excited because the district has just purchased premium access for us, including the students, and we do have new PD coming about Canva. So if you're not familiar with it, or if it's something that you use, we are very excited to start presenting that to you. And built into Canva, there already are Pear Deck templates. So excited about that, the teacher dashboard. Okay, so the teacher dashboard can be a little bit confusing because there are technically like 3 views of the teacher dashboard. So you have the teacher dashboard when you are working with your students and it's live. And then that is the slides where it shows you everything that your students are seeing. So it has the version there and you see what your students are, how they are responding. Then you have another version that is called the presentation version, and that is where your student work can be displayed. So if you have an exemplar with a student that you want to share with the class, you're going to use that presentation mode because that is where the work is displayed anonymously. And then there is also the third view, which is basically if you've logged yourself in as a student as well, so that you can see the student view as you're projecting through. So it can be a little bit confusing, so I did want to point that out. But how we access that during a Pear Deck session is down at the 3 dots. So when you are working with your Pear Deck and you click on the 3 dots, these are the options that you will be given during a session. So obviously making it full screen, that's pretty easy. Here where it says open the dashboard in a new window, that is where you're going to click to allow you to see that presentation mode for you to be able to display those exemplars that you want to share with the class anonymously. And then you can open it in a new device. So that would be if you wanted to open it somewhere else. And then as we talked before, being able to switch between the student-paced mode, or you can switch between the teacher-paced versus student-paced, and then obviously end or leave a session. So those are the pieces that you are going to find when you see the 3 dots. And as I mentioned, this is what you will see. I went ahead and took screenshots of the different windows to help kind of display it, but it can be a little bit confusing. So here's the presentation mode, and this is what it looks like when you see the presentation mode and you're displaying it. This right here is basically the dashboard for the teachers, and this is where you can see student names and the way that the students are responding. Okay. All right, so I think it's a lot easier for me to display this live because it can get very confusing, but I did want to take these screenshots so that you guys could go back and reference this later on as well. So what I'm going to do now is just go ahead and pull up a Pear Deck session that I had previously. And as you remember from before, if you go to the peardeck.com website, this is where you can find your session history. So I'm just going to go ahead and open that up and display a session that I had before. All right, so here's an unnamed session. I'll just go ahead and open that. All right, so here's my projector, or open the dashboard. So I want to see the dashboard because this is the teacher dashboard that they were referencing. Sorry for the delay here. Okay, so this right here lets me see if I had students enrolled in this class. This section right here, when it's yellowed out, is telling me what slide the students are actually seeing at that time. Here is where I would see student responses. Again, then if I click here, this would be the slide to let me know this is the slide that the students are on, and then I would be able to see the responses of a student. Okay, yeah, so here's a great example. So as you can see, this is the teacher dashboard view. And I can see that I had a student response right here. This tells me the name of the student, how the student responded when they first logged in. If I wanted to highlight hers, I could click this response, and then it would show her response in that other presentation mode, which I will show you. Additionally, you can leave feedback for the student. So if I wanted to leave her a message, I would just click on that, and I would type it here. I think that we kind of went over that last time, but I just wanted to show you that this is also where you could send her feedback if you wanted to do that. And then if I wanted to hide her response, I could go ahead and hide it if it was inappropriate. So that is how you do that in case you do get those inappropriate comments. And then again, as we talked about before, here's the different view options. So if I wanted it to be a grid, or if I just wanted it to be a list, this is where you change it here. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. So now if I wanted to show the responses, I could go ahead and click this button here and see where it says right here to open projector in a new tab. This is what I'm going to click. Okay. And here is that session. Now, here is the first page. There was no responses for that. And if you recall, in the other tab, I went ahead and hid her response. So now I'm going to unhide her response, and I will go back over here to the presentation mode. Sorry, let me show you that again because I know I didn't switch my tab. So previously, I had her response hidden. So if I unhide this, and I switch back to the presentation mode, I can now see her response, but also notice down here, no longer can see the student's name. This is where the information becomes anonymous because this is actually a separate tab that is opened. So I know that might be a little bit confusing. So if you have any questions on that, please let me know. All right, so what I would like for you guys to do, if you want to go ahead, I'll give you guys about 3 minutes to take a look at that, click on some buttons. If you have questions, feel free to open one of your other sessions, click that 3 dots so that you get familiar with the different versions between the presentation slides as well as the regular teacher dashboard. So go ahead, I'm going to give you guys 3 minutes. Unmute if you have questions or raise your hands. This, if I showed it to you last time or not. And that was how you can lock the screen and put a hold on the screen. So if I didn't share that with you guys last time, let me go ahead and show you how to do that. If let's say that you are choosing to have some sort of a conversation with your students and you want the screens locked, you need 100% of their attention at that time. So that's a great thing to do to really get their attention, especially if they're working in student pace mode. So do please know that that is an option that is there for you. So you just hold that lock screen button and then those 3 options will pop up for you. Hopefully have as much struggles as I did to get that to come up. To shut it off, let's say you wanted to end the session earlier. Let's say you set it for 3 minutes and you felt like you had everything you wanted to stay shorter than that. If you notice this little triangle in the corner, if you click on that, it'll give you the option to end it earlier. So that's how you can turn that off. Something else that we had talked about in our objectives today was how do you add a new prompt? And so as you can see down here at the bottom, right next to the lock screen, you can add that new prompt. So what that means is that if you're working with your students and you decide at the minute, like, you know what, I want to get a pulse of how they're doing. If you click that button where it says new prompt, it will allow you to add a new prompt in. So let me go ahead and model for that for you guys live here. 1 second to change my tab here. Has anybody used that before? So here is an example of a Pear Deck session that I had opened before with my students. If I wanted to start that new prompt, I could just click this button right here. And you can see that very quickly it pops up. It's basically what you see on that sidebar when you are using the Pear Deck extension in slides, where we get the template library and it asks you, do you want a prompt for the beginning, the middle, or the end of your class? So very quickly, I could just go ahead and click on one. Let's say I picked this one, and then I could add that in to my slides. And so that's just a quick pulse. Unfortunately, these right here are difficult to customize just because, again, it's a new prompt and it's on the fly. So you can see that you can just pop that in very quickly and you can get student responses. This example was a draggable. So it's very simple to do. And you can add that in. You could add multiple ones if you wanted to do that as well. You can arrow through and see that there's a couple of different options for them. There you go. Here's the number one that you can add. And I was able to pull up one of the Pear Decks that was allowing me to display the bottom here. So this is where the numbers were able to come up. And if I did perhaps click that button, you notice that a timer does appear for the student on their screen. So it kind of gives them that visual to let them know how much time that they had. And then if I did want to go ahead and end it earlier, I just go ahead, click that button, and it'll turn it off. So that's how you do that there. Pear Deck Factory. It's called the Flashcard Factory or Pear Deck Vocabulary. It's the term that's used interchangeably, but it is on the website known as Flashcard Factory. So if you guys don't mind opening up a new tab and going to peardeck.com. And when you get to peardeck.com, you are going to see your Launchpad. And again, this is where we find all of our sessions and things. But if you scroll down a little bit further to the bottom, right here, you see Flashcard Factory. So let me kind of just give you guys a quick overview of what Flashcard Factory is. Flashcard Factory is designed to create a set of flashcards for students to practice vocabulary. However, I have used it for math and I've also used it for vocabulary. So you can be creative and use it in different ways. So I would like for you guys to experience it as a student right now, if you don't mind. So go ahead and open an additional tab. And I'm going to have you guys join my flashcards factory session that I created. So if you can go ahead and go to joinpd.com, and then go ahead and enter in this code right here. It will have you guys join the flashcard factory so that you can experience it as a student. And as you guys are joining, if you notice up here in the right-hand corner, as with a regular Pear Deck session, it gives the teacher the visual of how many students are joining. So you can get a pulse of, okay, I know I have 10 kids here and I only have 8 joined, and then you can quickly figure out who has not joined. So it is a great visual for you as well to know that every one of your students are participating, because again, this tool really is about engagement for our kids. So, okay, so once you get everybody who is supposed to be in the class, you go ahead and the session does not start until you click login. Because again, the whole idea is that this is a factory and that everybody is basically coming to work. So if you notice that once I clicked clock in, you should have received a notification to tell you what team you are on. So as a teacher, I can see here that the teams have been split up into 2 different groups. You have the day shift and then you have the night shift. You guys notice that you were randomly partnered with someone. And of course, if you are not satisfied with the way in which the partnerships were established, you do have the option of shuffling your teams. And you can do that as many times as you need to in order to make sure that you are comfortable with who is partnered with who. Also, if there is someone who does not have a partner, sometimes what I would do is just log in to give them a partner, or they will just go ahead and complete the work independently. All right, so what happens now is we click Let's Play. And what's going to happen is you're going to receive a card. One of you will be asked to do a task, which is basically completing the vocabulary part of it. And then the other one is going to be asked to create a visual representation of what it is that you've been given. Once your team submits their card onto this factory line down here at the bottom, when the next card is given to you guys, your roles are going to reverse. So I'm going to go ahead and set the timer for about 5, I'll give you guys about 4 minutes, 5 minutes to go ahead and just do this really quickly. Also, when you submit your card, take a look on the screen and you can actually see that a card is going to be dumped onto the factory floor. So hopefully, as you guys were working along, you were able to observe what was happening here on the screen. Hopefully you can see that as the cards are being dropped onto the fan belt, you can also notice that the blue's on the top, so that represents the night shift, and then the orange is obviously representing the day shift. Up here at the top, it lets you know that we had 4 terms in this one, and it's letting us know that we have achieved 4 examples of the 4 terms. So if you wanted this to be a true competition amongst your students, what you could do is just, as soon as you get those 4 representations, then you could shut it off right then, or you could wait until each team has completed submitting responses for each of the 4. All right, so for time's sake, we're going to go ahead and move forward now. So if all of your students are done, or you decided to move it on, the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to actually switch it to where you click right here where it says quality control. So that is the next step. So go ahead and you would click on that. Okay, and then as you can see, this is where you would now go ahead and to have a class discussion about your satisfaction with whether or not you want to push this card forward, or if you don't feel as if this is a great representation of what you were trying to get with the students. So for this one right here, we were asked to do 14 plus 6, and the answer is obviously 20, and then someone gave us a visual representation. So if this is what you were looking for, then you can stamp it as green as successful. When you stamp it as green, this is going to be provided to the students if you choose to share it with them. So make sure that what you're selecting is actually what you're looking for. If it's not, then you're going to go ahead and hit the red. So if you hit red, sorry, whoever did this, it's going to reject it and return it back. If you actually liked it, it would give you a stamp of approval. So same thing right here. Okay, so here's another one. Sorry for my voice. I'm looking at this right here. So this one we want to approve, and you can see great, and it gives you the stamp, So let's suppose that you went through all of these and you were satisfied with everything and you got everything that you wanted. Let's go ahead and move forward to this one right here. So this is talking about the very heavy bat, multiple meaning word. Yes, it is. So you can see that you can slide through these and pick the ones that you want to look at. There is one disclaimer, and I had a meeting yesterday with some teachers that taught high school, and they said, is there a way to preview this before you display it to the class? Unfortunately, there is not, but just try to be cautious, I guess, in the way that you do that, and you would know your students. With first grade students, I really didn't have to worry about the type of representation I was going to get as the screen, but as a disclaimer, just know that there is not really a way to preview this before you go through the quality control phase. So that is one disadvantage. All right, so if you're completely satisfied with everything that you see, now we're going to move on to the shipping phase. So then we would click this, and those examples that you selected as great get dumped, and then they get moved on. So it also, again, gives you team points up here at the top. So it looks like we selected more of the cards from the day shift as opposed to the night shift. And then you have the option to export these cards to GimKit Live. That's not something that I used. What I did with my students is I actually printed them out. I just printed them as a PDF, and then I was able to email it to them. Or we would also just look at it together on the board. You could print them and allow the students to cut them out and use them as flashcards, or pair it up with the picture with the image as well. So you do have some flexibility there also. So this is pretty much what a flashcard factory looks like. So again, you can click the 3 buttons, and let's say that you wanted to go back and you realize, okay, I only received 3 of the 4 terms. I could go back to the quality control phase and go back and find the missing term that I was missing so that I could add it to complete it. So these 3 dots to the left give you those options to go back amongst the different phases. And then, of course, you can leave the factory. Are there any questions? Oh, good. Okay, I had a question. All right, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask the question.
For the exporting it to the GimKit Live, do we have access to GimKit through the district?
That's a really great question, and it came up yesterday, and I have not had a chance to ask the team. I know 2 weeks ago when the Google thing, before the Google thing came out, we did have access to it. I will definitely find out, and I will send that information to you guys also when I get the answer about the new prompt. But great.
Thank you.
Yeah, great question. I know, like I said, I know teachers were using it before. If you're not familiar with what GimKit is, it's basically a version of like a Kahoot where you could put in the questions and the kids can play a game. Okay. All right, very good. So again, we would just end it by naming the session that you want here. I'll just call this test, and then save, and we'll leave the factory. And again, just like our other version histories, if this is something that you are interested in, you can go, back to your Pear Deck sessions. Let me share that tab here. All right, and then what you can do is go back to your sessions and you can find it. One thing that you will notice is that the type of the session, if it says vocab, then that lets you know that that is a flashcard factory session. Something else I did want to point out is if you wanted to go back and reuse this, or if you wanted to go back and edit it, and that's the same with all of these, is if you click the file name right here, it'll open it up here and it lets you start it again or hit edit. So if I hit edit, then it's going to open this up. So now that you guys have experienced it as a student, let me show you how you build it. When you open up a flashcard factory, this is the screen that you're going to see. You are going to be able to enter a term here, and you can enter in a definition. But as you can see, I've also used it for math. So what I did in the definition, that's where I put my directions for the math problem. So that's how I manipulated it a little bit. But if you scroll down here and you see where I entered fan, I'm going to go ahead and delete this out and show you that you can click right here on definitions and it will pop up the Webster's Dictionary, and then you can choose the definition that you are seeking. So like obviously fan is a multiple meaning word, so it lets me select the definition that I was specifically referencing there. So that is another great option. You can also import a list of words. So let's say you have a spelling list or a vocabulary list that is in a Google Sheet. You could go ahead and copy those and you could import that right here. And then you can also enter the terms here as well. So you have a couple of options to do that. And then something else, once you are finished with it, you can share this. And what it does is it actually takes it to the content orchard. So if this is something that you felt like you wanted to share with, actually everyone or just inner district, this is where you would go about doing that. And you can enter that information here. And then obviously it asks for your, permission to do all of that. So if this is something that you wanted to share, this is how you could do it. The other thing is that this is actually housed in your Google Drive, just like your other sessions. So if this is something that you created and you only wanted to share it with your teammates, you would just go to your Google Drive and then you would actually share that slide deck with your colleagues, and then they would be able to import it into Pear Deck to use with their own class. Is give you guys a few minutes to take your time to go ahead and create one for yourselves. So I'll give you guys about 5 minutes to do that. And like we talked before, if you have any questions, just unmute yourself or ask your questions in the chat. Go ahead, Anne-Marie.
I was wondering, for the Webster Dictionary, can you change the language to Spanish?
Ooh, that's a great question. Let me play with that and see. No one's ever asked me that question. That's a great question, though. Let me check and see.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so before we finish, hopefully you guys have had a chance to play with this a little bit. Again, as I said before, if you have any questions moving forward, don't hesitate to reach out. There are a few other things that I want to show you quickly before we finish today. And that is when you are back here at the initial page where you can create your list of words. If you click over here on the three lines, I guess is the way to say it. If you take a look right here where it says find vocabulary lists, if you click this, you can see that it will take you to the explanation of Flashcard Factory. So if you want more information on it, you can get that here. But if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there are a pre-existing list of words by vocabulary. I'm sorry. There's a list of vocabulary words by grade level. So again, if you click on the list, it will give you a list of words that you might be interested in knowing. So what you can All right, so if you are back in your sessions tab, you notice that there's active right here as well as archived. So let's say, for example, I wanted to delete this one. You really don't delete it. What you do is archive it. And how you do that is you click the three little dots over here and you just simply click on archive the session. So you're saying, yes, I want to archive this. And then it removes it from your active list. So a lot of times what I would do is, when I finish using it for this year, I would archive it. So then next year, if I wanted to reuse it, it wasn't completely deleted. I could just go here to my archived. And then when I click on this, it allows me to restore that session. And then once it's restored, then I can go in and edit it and make any changes that I wanted to it for the next session, if that makes sense. So are there any other questions that I can answer for you guys? Because we have hit that stage in our training today for our Q&A.
If you want to see the recording, where do we go?
Oh, great question. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the YouTube channel. But what I can also do is the 2 questions that you guys had asked, I will go ahead and attach it to it also. And actually, that's a great question that you asked me, because on the next slide, I went ahead and I included the links to session 1 and session 2. Those are here. Sorry, let me share the right tab. Sorry, let me share the right tab with you. Here's the resources, and it is in our slide deck here. So this is session 1, session 2, and then this is the link to our YouTube channel. I was actually quite surprised to know that many of you guys were unaware that we actually have a YouTube channel for ILE. So I went ahead and linked that there. But then, yeah, you're welcome. And then I also put a link to our upcoming PDs that we are offering in the district.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Any other questions that I can answer for you guys? I appreciate you guys joining me today. And for those of you that have been with me all 3 sessions, I hope you found this valuable, and I appreciate you guys all. And again, don't hesitate to reach out if you guys have any questions.